Def Jam. Just saying the name brings up a flood of memories for hip hop heads and many music lovers everywhere. For over 40 years, this label hasn't just released music, it's actually defined the sound, the style, and the swagger of entire eras. So today we're going to look at the story of Def Jam recordings. We're going to not do so much of a deep dive, but just a general overview from a scrappy dorm room operation to one of the most powerful names in music across the globe. So let's rewind to 1984. Rick Rubin, a punk loving NYU student, starts producing hip hop tracks out of his dorm room. He presses his own vinyl for a single called It's Yours, and suddenly he's got something real on his hands. Then enter Russell Simmons, a connector and one of the most plugged in figures in the rap scene. Together, they officially launched Def Jam Recordings in New York City. The first wave was game changing. LL Cool J drops I Need a Beat. The Beastie Boys crashed the scene, blending rock and rap in a way nobody saw coming, to the point where even my dad recognized some talent in the Beastie Boys, and he definitely was not really a big rap person. But you also had Public Enemy turning the mic into a political weapon, and let's not forget later on you had like Method Man, but also you had Slick Rick, and Def Jam wasn't just a label; it became the face of hip hop, or at least a serious contender for that designation. By the late 80s, Def Jam links with CBS and Columbia for distribution, which means bigger reach and bigger budgets. In the 90s, they are scooped into Polygram and later Universal Music Group, where they still sit today. For a while, they were part of the Island Def Jam Music Group alongside Island and Mercury Records. But no matter the corporate reshuffles, the label's identity stayed rooted in the streets, well, to a large degree anyway. I'm going to sort of get into some more aspects of the record label that are, a little bit more controversial, at least in my opinion. And Def Jam wasn't just about records, they became a brand. They had streetwear collaborations, movies, and even a hit video game franchise, Def Jam Vendetta, which was actually a fighting game. I've never played it, but it sounds like it'd be a fun game to try. But they kept the name and the culture, and even when you weren't near a turntable or a CD player or a deck or whatever. I almost said cassette dep, like I'm thinking about Johnny Depp or something. But anyway, fast forward to the 2000s and 2010s. Jay-Z runs the label. DMX brings raw energy. Ludacris adds some southern swagger, if you want to call it that. Rihanna comes in and redefines pop. Kanye West pushes boundaries. Now, that's somebody that I'm not a fan of, obviously, and that is largely rooted in recent developments involving Kanye West. So it's a bit of a bad point for the record label. And plus, I I don't think I'd be a Kanye fan um, anyway, even if there wasn't the fascist kind of stuff. I don't think I'd be a fan of his music anyway. But Def Jam adapts. I guess that's my point here, and it's built an international roster that's just as influential. And today the label's reach is global. There's Def Jam UK, Def Jam Africa, and in 2021, even Def Jam Sweden. So Matthias Kaliste, I don't know if I pronounced the last name correctly, but anyway, he runs the Swedish branch. He summed it up pretty well. He said that Def Jam raised me. I grew up on Public Enemy, LL Cool J, Method Man. The label's legacy is incredibly important for hip hop as both a genre and a subculture. So similar to him, I grew up listening to some Def Jam groups. Like, even when I wasn't a huge fan of rap, there were kids who were playing the Beastie Boys on a boombox on the school bus in the morning. Well, not so much on the morning. I don't think they played music on the morning, but when we were coming back from school, the some kids would be playing Beastie Boys, and I'm not talking high school kids even, but one at least one kid from my elementary school days was playing Beastie Boys on the school bus. And sometimes I'd play a tape on the bus. I'd be playing maybe the Offspring or even the Dead Kennedys or something like that. So the Beastie Boys and a few other groups were a part of my upbringing. A little bit, I had those experiences as a child. I shouldn't say a part of my upbringing. That makes it sound like my mom and dad were like encouraging me to get deeply involved in rap music or something. But my point is here that I did have experiences with this type of music when I was younger, and I think I bought a Public Enemy tape back when I was in high school. I never really bought hip hop music that much until a little bit later on in my teenage years. I started buying things like Public Enemy and Ice T, and it was one of those things where I kind of grudgingly started getting into it because I was more of a rock and metal person. But I had to admit that there were some rap acts that I did enjoy, and that also included like Digital Underground. I mean, who doesn't like the Humpty Hump? Everybody likes that song. I think. I mean, obviously, I'm not literally saying everybody likes it, but definitely a lot of people do. And you know the Def Jam label was a part of some of these artists. Like um, well, the Beastie Boys are obviously one, but Public Enemy. And as of 2025, Def Jam is home to both living legends like LL Cool J, Public Enemy, and some new voices like R&B crooners and global pop stars like, yes, Justin Bieber. That's another sort of dark spot on the record label's reputation, in my estimation. Obviously Justin Bieber does have some fans, but I can't count myself among that roster. And Def Jam is not just about music, they dominate social media, remixing old footage for new audiences, jumping on trends, and sometimes changing the whole vibe of a song with just a tiny edit. And in an era where viral moments can make or break careers, Def Jam has mastered the balance, honoring its past, pushing into the future, and making sure their artists don't just exist in the conversation. Sometimes they still lead it, you know? So, 40 plus years in, Def Jam is still providing music, and they're proving that it's more than a label, it's like a movement, memory. There's plenty of nostalgia that keeps people thinking about the record label. And they're also a megaphone for voices that keep shaping the soundtrack of our lives.